Okay, thank you for the extra time I have. So, quick introduction about me. I work as a consultant for embedded systems. I worked for a lot of companies in this industry, particular in security, IoT, and everything which has to do with embedded Linux computer modules. And after all this time for different vendors, I started basically my own consultant business, and I help companies like Thistle and Grin and DeepX accelerators to promote their products and support their customers on the European market. And I help European companies to find a place and partners in the United States. And today we're talking about what we do with Thistle Security. And security is always seen as a boring topic and a must-have, and I want to look at this from the fun aspect. And so here is something. Edge security is like flossing. Everyone agrees that's important, but the most devices still skip it and hope no one noticed until it hurts. And the best thing is, I want to give a real life example from the conference. Who has seen that in the conference here? These sign. Can someone guess when that password has been changed the last time? Maybe you, Christian? 22. Okay, so at least after that video here is on YouTube, they have to change that to, let's say, 2025. But I don't want to look at this like from the standpoint it's a necessity. There's also benefits with security. And you have to look is we have billions of connected devices. They are growing. And what we want to do is, what we see is we have, even on edge devices now, LLMs. We heard it at the Qualcomm presentation, DeepX has an accelerator who can run large language models. And we want to, we have attacks mainly looking here for your IP, right? If you look especially at embedded Linux processors, it's not anymore like compiled binary code on microcontrollers, which is maybe harder to make sense out of it and cross-compile that. But you have often things in plaintext or things like Python, which is basically code, which is a documentation at the same time. And then we have this topic of regulations, in Europe now, CRA or NIS2, and we have basically the commercial brand impact. And so focusing on security basically can avoid a lot of pain. The problem with security is whoever worked with this and with encryption, it's a little bit in the software, like for some people, black magic mathematically, similar like in hardware antenna design seems for some people like this. And it's already hard to do if you just want to do it on a demo setup. But it really gets a pain if you want to scale this, because usually when you scale, you also have different versions of your product, and with different processors, you have to basically manage. So what are the key threats to edge AI devices? We talked about that, the theft of your IP in your model. You have to imagine you invest money in training that for your particular market, and you don't want that anyone else has a benefit of that or tampers with it. Then, of course, over-the-air updates, someone could hijack that, and you want to avoid that someone deploys malicious code onto your device. Someone could extract credentials. We heard about that people hacked into data centers because someone retrieved the password on a room thermostat from an air conditioning system, which stored the password just in plain text in the flash memory. And people could downgrade your device, cause a lot of brand damage, or at least like a bad user experience. So what are basically therefore the core pillars of security on edge devices? It's like prevent an attack rather than notify that an attack has happened. Then secure boot, and I think it's a concept I will talk a little bit about because not everyone is aware what basically secure boot means. And that basically ensures that only trusted code runs on your device. And there's different measures for that. And then, of course, the OTA, everyone heard about that. We want to make sure that what is transferred is encrypted and also lives in an encrypted way in storage so that it's safe even if the storage is compromised. And we want to have basically a signed firmware update so that the device can really verify that from which source it comes, and that's an integer update. And then we see a lot of this, like we talked about dental flossing, so the root of trust has nothing to do with a root treatment. It prevents that you one day basically need a root treatment. And that is often done to special key storage chips, like secure element or trusted platform controllers. And this is something I want to make aware of. Security is not the pure software implementation thing for edge devices. It's a combination of hardware and basically software devices. And these elements are specially hardened to store your thing. And then, of course, secure data at storage. That means that even if someone would get access to the hard drive or the storage, the data is basically encrypted there. So what's the best practice to ensure this? Of course, sign and verify basically even the bootloaders. And that's the topic of secure boot. You know, when the processor or microcontroller boots the image, and you know, with higher end MPU processors, it's ARM trust zone, so that the bootloader is verified, and then the bootloader verifies the image. And a root of trust. And basically, there's a few options for these so-called hardware secure elements. And that is, for example, here in our sample downstairs, we have a table that we use the Infineon Optiga, but back in the days when I worked at Atmel, we had secure elements. ST has secure elements. And that's special chips which hardens against all known attacks that someone could retrieve the root and your private key from basically device. And they offer hardware acceleration for security functions. But some higher-end processors and all microcontrollers have already secure boot built in. But here, basically, that is part then of the chip. It's different implemented across all the vendors, and you would have basically a place to securely store basically the key, and then the processor or they had the fabric to verify this. And we support, or if you want to do something with security, you have to support a lot of devices, and basically we support microcontrollers, the NXP application processors, the PSOC, and also Qualcomm. But whatever you bring, and if it's not already have been done, we implement basically the secure boot or verified boot for you onto your device. Okay. And here's the thing, you know, best practice for secure update models. You want to basically update models. This is kind of, when I started with microcontrollers, they've been not connected, and you programmed it, and over the lifetime, that didn't change. Now, with certain security requirements, regulatory requirements, you have to ensure that the product is secure over the lifetime. And if it's a connected device, you basically have to maintain the firmware. But on edge AI devices, you know, we continuously have more data, retrain our models. So also for the use case enhancement for the product, you want to update your models. Then you want to make sure that it's end-to-end basically encrypted, the update is signed, you want to also have like a fail-safe rollback feature, which is very important. Could you imagine something would fail with a software update, and then you have a paperweight, and yeah, if you work with security, you will create, at least in the development process, a lot of paperweights till you know how to do it right. And yes, and there is the in-house solution. You know, engineers always like to do everything and learn new things, but it's always a question at the costs. The costs, imagine if you were a small-sized company and you have to employ 5 people and spend 18 months to develop that. Here, using Thistle, you have like thousands of customers who you basically divide the costs on building the solution. Okay, and that is basically the problem a little bit of these in-house solution from companies, right? It's expensive. You have to I always say the cost shares by you as a company rather than share across all the company of the Thistle as basically the secure OTA provider. Okay, and this is where the platform approach makes basically sense, because someone else maintains that for you, takes care of the security. We work with many hardware vendors, so they are added. So if you basically change the product over the lifetime, you know that it will work on other devices. So this is kind of a really good presentation here versus do it yourself. And there's a lot of OTA cloud solutions, but I think basically Thistle, we are like really focused from the ground up on security, not just of making an OTA update. And if you look, basically, we have the secure boot, we have the encrypted over-the-air update, we have hardware acceleration through the crypto elements or what the processor basically provides, and basically the readiness for certification and industry requirements. And we can optimize it for speed, since we can put more time into it than like a single company could do resource-wise. So, and now if we want to update basically AI models, so we have security risk, complex deployment, data integrity, compliance, and trust. And this is what we provide all in our solution. And it's really hard to do well. If you've been working on this, you will know this, and I was very surprised how easy I could implement that into the product with the infrastructure basically Thistle provides. And here, like a few numbers, and I think that you have to already have a couple of people to get it done in that time frame. And it's usually not scalable because the customer develops for one product, we build it for multiple platforms. Okay, that is basically why the solution has been developed. Here's a nice graphics from the marketing team, but really, I don't know if the line is here or here, but it's different than the graph, which gets more complex with the amount of devices. So the Thistle Secure end-to-end platform, so it's agnostic to the hardware, it's easy to deploy, and we have the functionalities required basically by by the RCA compliance. And this is, again, people think always only about the air update, but we talk about the secure boot. Again, the functionality that the device itself, or with the help of a crypto element, can verify that the update it's receiving is really coming from the right source, and it's not someone else taking ownership of the device. And then you have the protection of data at rest. That means even if someone compromises the hard drive, the storage, the data there is encrypted. Then secure software update, integrity verification, logging, which is required by that, and that is also embedded basically in the platform. So if we have products, usually we have something like train a model, then you sign it, upload it to device, you collect new data, you retrain, and that is basically given by the Thistle platform. So, and downstairs I have an update, so I will not get too much in the technical details, but I want to talk about these three subjects. The secure boot factor, the secure data, and the secure over-the-air update feature. So I just have here a picture of a device, and you see you have somehow the operating system, and there we have this Thistle update client. Very simple. If it's embedded Linux system, it's a little bit easier than for a microcontroller. You could install just the Thistle update client, and it takes care of all the encryption, the security, and the contact to the platform. And then you have somehow on the device usually a bootloader mechanism on an application processor, U-boot, for example, in Linux. And either you have inside programmable fuses like ARM Trust Zone, but there is also, if you don't have that, or if it's too complicated for you, because you have to match and you have to somehow in the production program and flash the devices. If something goes wrong, you have a paper weight. So you have to manage also programming and fusing those devices in your production run. But it could be also basically a secure element. So therefore we differentiate between secure boot, which uses the embedded functionality in the chip, or verified boot, which works with an external crypto element. And if we compare these both, the Thistle verified boot, which basically would work with every processor, and the security is put into a secure element like the Infineon Optega. There, it's basically relatively easy to integrate. But if you have a processor with secure boot, we implement that for you, and this is basically fixed by the manufacturer at stage. This would be easier to integrate, but you can also have CRA compliance with the verified boot if your device doesn't have the secure boot feature. And the secure boot, of course, is for processors who have that already embedded. Okay, so the security features we talked about, and I want to just repeat that here. It's the cryptographic key generation, defending against attacks, support multiple security protocols, accelerated secure key generation and cryptographic functions, either in the host processor or via the coprocessor secure element. And here you would see the process with the platform. So we have the Thistle platform and the control center. You would have the client signing basically your image or your artifact. That's very important. If you want to update an Edge AI model, you don't want to update a 5 gigabyte image for embedded Linux. You only want to update a few bytes. And on the device side, you run the Thistle Update client, which uses the root of trust for an external secure element or the internal function. And people always say, yeah, what if someone compromises the platform? And therefore, I have another picture. So that would be the same for the update with the fallback to the previous image. But again, someone asked, yeah, what if someone compromises the platform? This picture says it all. You device manufacturer, it's an end-of-end trust. You basically sign your firmware image or artifact, and Thistle provides the infrastructure to do this. If you decide to move away from Thistle as a security platform provider, you could do so, because you're the owner of the root of trust to do so. Of course, we have a control center. This can be also branded for your company, but the other company uses via an API in the background to monitor the devices. Okay, and here you see it basically saves us a lot of time of developing this. It took us quite some time and resources to develop this. And if you look in the embedded market, there's a lot of these companies who have just a couple of hundred devices a year, but the devices are big CNC machines which cost $500,000, right? And so for this amount of devices, it's very expensive to build that up. But you have many of those customers. So it's many customers with a smaller amount of devices compared to millions of devices, for like smartphones or gadgets. Okay, this is a partner network, and it's from us, and so we work with different silicon vendors which we already support, and also computer module manufacturers where this runs. And if you have other vendors or it's needed, it's usually part of our work when you purchase these the services from us to implement it into your existing product. So what are the final takeaways? To sum it up, we talked multiple times about this. We have to have security built in order to prevent from attacks, destroying our print, creating paperweights, someone stealing our intellectual property. And it's not easy to do with that platform. It's already done, it's hardware agnostic, and you can implement it, or we help you implement it in your device. Not only on an application processor base like a Jetson or Qualcomm, a processor running an operating system, also at a tiny connected microcontroller-based device. If it has secure boot, we can leverage that, but we also can provide the root of trust, the secure OTA, and the secure boot via an external secure element. And the platform is future-proof. You know, the vendors we grow and support more and more different hardware vendors.